Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 PS3 review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at what I personally think is one of the greatest fighting games of all time. I'm absolutely in love with it, and I can say right now, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, go out and get this game. It was made for pure fans. I've bought pretty much every Mortal Kombat game that's ever came out, including the spin-offs like Shaolin Monks and the one where you played as Jax. And this truly is straight away from the fans. You can just tell. So at the start, you've simply got 1 player, 2 player, 3 player, 4 player. You can play tag matches, which are pretty cool, and they work just like any other tag match. 2-on-2, you tag people in, and you can just like work together as a team. From there, you've got Fight, which takes you into Ladder, which is the arcade mode. You can do a tag ladder, which you can also do with 2 players and not just on your own, which is good. You've then got these little mini games, which I'll show each of them off. You've got Story mode, which is a full story mode, and I will mention that. You've got the Challenge Tower, I'll mention that. Training's training. Online is pretty much the only downside to the game, because like all fighting games, lag kills it. Not to mention the online pass you need for the game, so don't bother buying it second hand unless you want to pay £7 for the pass. Extras, however, is pretty much where, believe it or not, you're going to be spending a lot of your time, because the crypt returns, and I'm going to put this on now because I've got a few coins saved for it, but as the loading can take a while, I'll just skip into it. So, this is the crypt overview. As you can see, I pretty much haven't unlocked anything, mainly because I've been saving up the coins. However, I can tell you the crypt is where you go to unlock things like costumes, fatalities, artwork, music. So, you want to save your coins up, which you get the coins by pretty much beating the story mode and the arcade mode. You can get quite a lot by doing things like fatalities, and then you can spend some coins just unlocking things like this. You'll get an animation and something will come up, and then, what have I got? Got a tournament model. Sorry, a tormentor model even. So yeah, you can get models as well. It's just all sorts of stuff, and you're going to spend a lot of time in there looking for each and last crypt, and some of them aren't actual crypts, some of them are people who were strung up with torture, and it's quite nice and violent. To be fair, that's pretty much this game in a nutshell. It's quite nice and violent. Option wise, you can fully customise your controls, and you can save 4 control sets, so obviously 1 for each player technically, because it's a 4-player game. However, if there's 5 of you around, then unless all 5 of you don't want that same one, you're going to be fine. Gameplay in stereo 3D, obviously 3D's, well, unique to the Sony version, and it's one of those. I don't have a 3D TV, I really don't know anyone who does, so I can't say if it works or not. Options though, you can choose the basics. Audio video, you can choose the basics, and then there's also social messaging there for, you know, people who, well, use those sorts of sites. So, let's go on to some verses. The roster is pretty damned huge. There are a lot of characters, and pretty much everyone you want's there, and everyone who you want who's not there, just go on and talk about it, because Boons came out and promised that he is going to listen to the fans, and he's going to bring as DLC the people who the people want. So if one name keeps cropping up more than anyone else, he'll make sure that's in the first wave. So get over to the, whatever it is, the official website I suppose, and post on the forums and that. So I'll obviously not going to be showing off every single character. I wish I had the time to do, but I don't, so I'll just show off some of the good ones, and one of which is actually Noob Saibot. So, I say Noob Saibot's good. Obviously it's personal opinion as to who you like with fighters, but the reason I've chose him is he's got one of the best fatalities on the game. It really is gory and violent. It's just wonderful. It's one of those things that makes you feel all nice and warm and fuzzy inside. So, as you might have guessed, it is a standard fighting game really. You've got special moves, you've got punches, you've got kicks, you can change your stance, which only really I think affects a few combos. I never use it, and I tend not to lose that many fights, so it's not really that important unless you're a master at the game or want to get the master. You've then also got these, which are brand new, called X-ray moves. Now, X-ray moves are very violent, they take a lot of damage, some take more than others, and it does seem a bit unbalanced at times. For example, obviously Goro is a boss, and when you fight him, he can take 53% of an energy bar from an X-ray move, and you've got people like Kratos who can take about 30%, I think it is, whereas I'm pretty sure Kung Lao takes about 20%, so it's a bit annoying that some take more than others, but at the same time, every character's different, so you'd kind of expect that. As well as being able to do the special moves though and the X-rays, you've got fatalities, which I've already mentioned, and I'm hoping to show off very soon, so I'm just going to shut up and try and concentrate, because like with every combat game, while they've been made a bit easier for this, you do still need to be able to concentrate.
Finish him.
So, that's, yeah, pretty damned violent, really. Very, very nice. That's, as I say, it's the whole game in a nutshell. It is just pure violence. So, I'm gonna, well, cut in a couple other fighters now to show them off. While it's loading though, you might notice the little combat codes are back, and that's another thing you can unlock in the crypt. You can do things, for example, 6 skulls gives you zombie combat, although zombie combat actually stops you from being able to do fatalities, which is a bit of a shame, because when you get to the finish him, they just completely obliterate. So I've only fought on that once, because I was gutted, because I was set up to do a fatality. Anyway then, it is obvious that it's just your standard fighting rules, really. You can change how many rounds it is, and it's just the whole point of whoever wins that many then wins the fight. And same with arcade mode, you go forward and you then get a little bit of story for that chosen character. The roster on the game is fantastic. I've not played as a fighter yet who I haven't really enjoyed. There's a couple who I've been absolute shit with, don't get me wrong. It's not a case of you can jump into playing as anyone. They're not all like simple or anything like that. It's just one of them, you'll have to get used to it in practice, really. And obviously, as I've already mentioned, there's things like these x-rays and that everyone's different, the powers are different. So yeah, it's just a case of trial and error and learning who to use, and it's just like any fighting game, really. But I'll be amazed if there's not one fighter that suits every person's playstyle, if you know what I mean, because for the people who go for the combos, Johnny Cage I think's excellent. For the people who go for the powers, people like Cyrax have so many specials, it's unbelievable, and just things like that. So, let's cut into the story mode, which I did say I'd mention. So, this is basically the story mode, and as you'd imagine, it's a story. It's got full cutscenes. I think they've done really well. The story and the gameplay, well, the reason this is just called Mortal Kombat and not Mortal Kombat 9, which is what I think it technically should be, is that they've tried to go back to scratch and start again and make the games the way they used to. And personally, I think they've succeeded. I think they've done more than succeeded, to be fair. But this is why this is Mortal Kombat, because the story mode here is actually set in Mortal Kombat 1, 2 and 3. You get 16 chapters. Every chapter you play as a different character. So you start with Johnny Cage, you move on to Sonya, and you just play as a few of them. Obviously, therefore, you don't play as the full roster. And by doing the story mode, you unlock certain characters like Quan Chi or Cyber Sub-Zero or whatever he's called. There's also a couple of other unlockables on like that on characters on the game, and it's just a case of, well, finding out how to do them, really. So the story mode, as I say, I think's done really well. So I might as well cut into the tower now to mention that. So this is the first challenge in the challenge tower. There's 300 overall, so quite a lot to do, a hell of a lot of gameplay. Some of them are really good, some of them are just filler. This one I definitely see it is more of a filler. It's basically, I have to land every single move of Sonya's on Jax here in 25 seconds, which, yeah, it can be difficult, not because the moves are hard to pull off, but because Jax is jumping around like a madman, and these ones just feel like filler, whereas you've got pretty cool ones like hit the guy in the head 5 times, or the arm 5 times, or hit them in the head and the arm 5, just things like that. So if you like them, they're going to add to a lot of stuff. You can get money for beating them, you can also pay money to skip them, so that's pretty much the challenges. I'll just go back into some tag team footage, to finish off the vid. So, this is simply a tag match, and as I say, you can just tag in at pretty much any point, unless you're getting completely wheeled on, I suppose. As you might notice, I've got Kratos here. That's the obvious reason for why to buy the PlayStation version over the Xbox version. Kratos is fantastic. He's not just a filler character, he's one of the best characters on the game, and he's got an absolutely phenomenal moveset. So if you're looking at the game and you've got the option of both, definitely go with the PlayStation version. I also think the pad is personally better suited to it, because I can't stand how an analog plays on these games, and I much prefer a D-pad. And while the PlayStation D-pad's not perfect, it's a damn sight better than the Xbox. So, there's nothing really much to say about the game. If you're a fighting fan, try it out. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, what are you still doing watching the vid? Go and get the game. It's absolutely fantastic. The only things I've got left to do is the test games, which, as I usually do music in the reviews, this being a fighter, it's not really all that important, so instead I figured, rather than do a music montagey type thing, I'd do a montage of the test games. So, what follows is just about a minute or two's worth of footage of them.
Test your luck. Reptile. Jax. Round 1. Fight!
Well, while I said it would be a bit of a montage, to be fair, this kind of does need a bit of explanation. As you saw at the start, the little things which shows disorientated has given me reverse controls, so to jump forward I actually have to hold down and back. Magnetic floor obviously keeps, well, sticking us to the floor, and I can't use specials, so that's the whole point of Luck. It's a case of fighting with dodgy rules. It's quite fun, and it's probably the best out of the 4 abilities. You can also do it on 2 players, so you can verse each other like that, which is pretty cool.
Test your might. Test your sight. Oh yeah. Test your strike. Johnny Cage.
So that was the 4 little mini games. They're pretty decent. They obviously get much harder because, for example, the button bashing one, when you're at the top of the ladder, it's just almost impossible to keep it up. So they're there, as I say. They're a little thing extra. They give you money as well. The only thing, to be fair, I haven't mentioned about the gameplay, I probably should. For those who do like playing online, there is a nice little thing that you can do, and I should be able to show it off simply here. By pushing triangle, to be fair, while I'm here, you can choose the stage, but for online, I don't. It's a case of random, usually, unless you're predetermined or anything like that. But the thing that I'm talking about is you can push square, and you can put a hidden cursor. Now, this is good because the amount of times when you're fighting online, on, for example, Street Fighter, on the Xbox on Street Fighter 2, the amount of times people just chose Honda because you could cheat your way to a victory, and the only real person you could beat them with was Chun-Li, and it was a back and forth, back and forth. So this means you can choose, when it's on split screen, well, not split screen, 2-player local like this, obviously no one can see, and it's a case of kind of being like a random. But when you're fighting online, or 1-player versus computer, I think even, you can see your cursor, so it's not a case of having to guess where you move from there, so you don't have to worry about that. And the final thing now is that the one disappointment really is, as amazing as this game is, and it truly is remarkable, it's still only the 2nd best game to come out this week. I would honestly say if you could only afford one, go for Portal 2, unless you really hate puzzle games, because it's just phenomenal, and so is this. I can't really fault either game, but it's just a shame that this is launched with such another strong title, really. So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.